It's just not enough. I have done several of these audios about accountability, and my thought process is that some men, when they mention the word accountability, they don't mean accountability. They mean shame, guilt, and punishment. And sometimes there's the idea of them getting revenge, or what they think, the revenge that some women should have, a karma kind of thing. And none of that has anything to do with accountability. But it does have a lot to do with punishment. And, it's very interesting when I think about patriarchal religions, because even mythology has stories, about women bringing sin into the world, like Pandora. And with Christianity, you have the story of Eve. I've heard some Christian men talk about Eve as the reason why women can't do 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 10 things. But the strange thing to me is, if you are a believer and you trust God, the very first thing that God did in the Bible was to punish Adam and Eve. So the idea that there needs to be further punishment, further consequences, further restrictions, is basically saying that you don't think God did a good enough job. So that kind of makes it seem like you think you know better than God. And this idea of, women needing to be punished, you see this, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and one of the things that I had put on a meme is some of the reasons behind domestic violence. And one of the reasons, or actually two, is the idea that men are supposed to control women, and that women who step out of a role or a behavior or attitude or a mindset that controlling men think is appropriate need to be punished. They need to be shown the error of their ways in a violent way. And again, if you are a believer, then none of this is biblical. The whole idea that Adam was created and was incomplete without Eve, that he needed a helper, means that he's not above her. He's not, he was incomplete without her, and the word helper in the Bible is the same word that's used when God is spoken of as a helper. It's the connotation is the appearance of someone who can do what you cannot do and can fill in the gaps that you cannot fill in for yourself. It's someone who has skills above and beyond yours, that is able to, again, help you in ways that you can't help yourself. So it's not a subordinate role. It's actually a very vital and necessary role, critical role, vital role, and it deserves respect. So there's parts of me that like the biblical creation story for some of the truths in that myth. But then, of course, there's parts of me that don't feel like it's scientific at all, because, every person born was born of a woman, so there's that. But to get back to the topic at hand, the idea that women need to be punished is something that we need to get rid of. Adults deal with their own accountability. And if you believe in karma, if you believe in the law of sowing and reaping, eventually the tables are righted. Eventually, the seeds that are sown, they grow into plants, and that person has the fruit of what they have planted. So you don't need to go around, being controlling, being abusive, being trying to humiliate people to punish them because you feel like they're supposed to be a certain way. And, we need to begin to appreciate other people rather than control and punish them, especially when that punishment sometimes stems from us wanting to avoid our own accountability and wanting to scapegoat other people for what we have done, which again you see in the Bible story. So just some food for thought. May you walk in Zenergy. It's just not enough. I have done several of these audios about accountability, and my thought process is that some men, when they mention the word